Pepper spray for self-defense is an idea whose time has come. How do I know? Because of this. I covered it at the time, a 36-year-old man jumping the counter at the Gotham City brothel in Melbourne, breaking one of the workers' ribs in a physical altercation before being subdued instantly when he copped a perfect shot of pepper spray to the face. Honestly, this might as well be an advertisement for pepper spray. Just cut it up into a 30-second spot and run it on repeat. You could not have choreographed this better to prove the point. Pepper spray works for self-defense. Here's the thing. The man who assaulted these women has been charged in the Frankston court and remanded in custody. The worker, who used the illegal weapon, again, pepper spray, to protect herself and her colleague, no charges have been laid against her at this point in time, and I have no reason to believe that charges ever will be laid. The incident happened more than 40 days ago. The facts are not in dispute. The lack of charges against the woman that we saw using pepper spray is not for a lack of evidence. It's because a decision has been made not to lay charges. Internally, they would have simply decided that laying weapons charges in this case is not in the public interest. That's the police get-out-of-jail-free card that they can use whenever a case arises where the law itself is obviously an arse. But if the attack hadn't been caught on camera, if it had not hit the headlines the way that it did with that video, you bet she would have been charged, as other people have been. But once the public saw this video, no one can argue that she's done the wrong thing. And that's why legalised pepper spray for self-defence is now an idea whose time has come. We have a moment in time to make this happen. The crime wave in Victoria especially, but Australia-wide generally, is undeniable. The fact that criminals everywhere are already arming themselves with weapons far worse than pepper spray is a matter of public record, and thanks to this video, the fact that pepper spray can be very helpful for victims is also now undeniable. And the lack of charges against this brothel worker show that either Victoria Police or the Victorian Government, or probably both, know that public patience has run out, and the people will no longer be denied the necessary means of their own self-defence. Which is why it's important to bring to your attention the fact that David Limbrick MP is sponsoring an official parliamentary petition to legalise pepper spray in Victoria. Now, it's attracted a few thousand signatures already, but we need to get this into the tens of thousands, even the hundreds of thousands. So in this video, I'm going to read you the petition, show you where to find it, link in the description, by the way, and then I'm going to do a little bit of myth busting about parliamentary petitions, about what happens with a petition, and what happens with the data of the people who signed the petition. We'll get to all of that in a moment, but first, my name's Topher Field, this is the Topher Project, and I help busy people like you to keep up with the world as it changes around us. And attitudes towards self-defense are most certainly changing, which is why we need to make the most of this moment in time. Now, I am 100% viewer supported, so if you appreciate having an Australian voice of reason in a world gone mad, then please help me to keep the Topher Project going by buying me a coffee via the button at topherfield.net. And if you like my videos, then you will love my books. They're all about government, power, human rights, and civil disobedience. Yes, of exactly the kind practiced by this brothel worker who broke the law. She is a good person who broke a bad law in order to do what was right and protect herself and her colleagues. And in the process, she highlighted the fact that the law itself is wrong. Now, I talk about civil disobedience and how the limits of government power are actually defined by the limits of the people's obedience in my first best-selling book, Good People Break Bad Laws. Now, I expand on that topic to talk about the theology of civil disobedience and why it is that I believe that Christians should be the first to stand up against government when the government oversteps its boundaries. That's in my second, also best-selling book, Good Christians Break Bad Laws. Now, you'll find both of my books on Amazon, but you'll also find them at goodpeoplebreakbadlaws.com, along with my multi-award-winning DVD documentary Battleground Melbourne, which is all about the civil disobedience of thousands of courageous Victorians during the COVID lockdowns, who through sheer force of will made Victoria Police back down after 18 months of lockdowns, oppression, and human rights violations on a scale never seen before in Australia. You'll also find my t-shirts, my hoodies, and we're in the final days before 5 of my designs are discontinued forever. Those are the original Too Much 1984, Not Enough 1776 design. There's my Don't Make Me Repeat Myself quote from history, as well as this funky version of Good People Break Bad Laws. There's The Truth Will Set You Free and Net Zero, which is my way of saying no to net zero. All of these 5 designs are being discontinued on Sunday night, the 30th of November, just a few days away. And these designs are never coming back. So head over to goodpeoplebreakbadlaws.com, grab my books, my DVD, and as many of these designs of shirts and hoodies catch your eye. And remember that everything you buy will help me to keep the Topher Project going. Okay, you'll find this parliamentary petition via the link in the description of this video. However, if that link is broken, just search for Pepper Spray Petition Victoria and look for the parliament.vic.gov.au website that looks like this. It's petition number 674 and it closes on the 1st of January 2026. But because things tend to go a bit quiet over Christmas, we really need to get people onto this straight away. Now, here's what it actually says. The petition of certain citizens of the state of Victoria draws to the attention of the Legislative Council that violent crime, particularly criminal offences involving the use of weapons such as knives and machetes, have become a pressing and critical issue in Victoria. Many residents do not feel safe in their own homes or being out and about every day. This is especially the case for vulnerable Victorians such as elderly people. The purchase and use of pepper spray by adults 18 years and over with no criminal convictions should be legalised to allow individuals the ability to protect themselves by non-lethal means should they face a violent confrontation where they are threatened with a weapon. This is the case in Western Australia and soon to be introduced in the Northern Territory as well. The petitioners therefore request that the Legislative Council call on the government to legalise the purchase and use of pepper spray by adults with no criminal convictions for personal protection by non-lethal means should they face a violent confrontation and are threatened with a weapon. So, if you're a Victorian and you agree with that petition, don't just sign it, spread it. Now let me answer a few common questions about petitions. Firstly, what's the point? What happens with a parliamentary petition anyway? Well, if there's more than 10,000 signatures by the time it finishes, then David Limbrick MP will be able to bring a debate into the upper house of Parliament to talk about this idea of legalising pepper spray. And what does that do? Well, by itself, not much. But as part of a wider public and political campaign, it does take us one step closer to legislation being drafted and pepper spray being legalised for Victorians. It's just part of a much bigger project, and if you're not even willing to sign a petition from the comfort of your own couch, then be honest with yourself, you're just an NPC. Now, some people do worry that petitions are just about data harvesting, and that can be true. But it's not true for a parliamentary petition. Now, I don't promote change.org petitions or other ones either. I don't run any petitions of my own. I don't play those games because, unfortunately, a lot of those petitions really are just cynical data harvesting. It's people who want your email address so that they can market to you later on. I don't play those games. The beauty of parliamentary petitions specifically is that the person initiating the petition never gets your data. It's not a data harvesting exercise, and it can't be, because they simply never get your data. On top of that, there's a good chance that it will lead to a debate in the Parliament, which simply will not happen with other forms of petition. So those are two key ways in which parliamentary petitions are different and way better than any of the other kinds of petitions that, you're right, are often just about data harvesting and don't actually achieve anything. Now, one final thing before I finish. People get hung up on these terms and conditions on the right-hand side of the website, especially the second one, where you have to check the box to say, I am aware that once this petition is presented, and it will be a permanent record of the Parliament, and the names and addresses of the people who signed the petition will be public. Now that sounds really scary and off-putting, and I have to wonder if it's been worded that way deliberately to try and reduce the number of people who would be willing to sign a parliamentary petition. Here's the thing. When it says that the record is public, it simply means that the record is kept on the record. It's not published. People won't be able to look up the petition online and see where you live. It's just kept by the Parliament as a record, so that if there were ever a need for the petition, for example, to be audited, say to prove that the people who signed it really do exist and really do live in Victoria, all of that data is kept by the Parliament. It is on the record held by the government, which by definition means that it's on the public record. But it's not actually publicly available. It's not published. Your details are far more secure with a parliamentary petition than they ever will be with a change.org petition, so please don't let any of that put you off. We need tens or even hundreds of thousands of signatures on this petition, because legalised pepper spray for self-defence is an idea whose time has come. But even so, it is still up to us to make it happen. If you're in Victoria, please sign the petition, and whether or not you're in Victoria, pass this video and the link in the description on to everyone you know, even if they're not in Victoria, because only Victorians can sign the petition, and that's as it should be. But everyone you know might know people who live in Victoria, so let's just get this to spread far and wide. My name's Topher Field, this is the Topher Project, and I help busy people like you to keep up with the world as it changes around us. I am 100% viewer supported, so if you appreciate having me doing what I do here at the Topher Project, then please support my work by buying me a coffee via the button at topherfield.net. And check out my books, DVDs and merch at goodpeoplebreakbadlaws.com. And don't forget that 5 of my original Topher designs are going out of print in just a few days' time. So head over to goodpeoplebreakbadlaws.com to grab yours before the end of November. And everything you buy will help me to keep the Topher Project going. Thank you for watching to the end. The algorithm loves you, and so do I. Please like, comment, subscribe, and as always, think free.